Pen TriIcelon. What a strange assortment of letters. In fact, I don't think I've heard any of these words until I saw this game. So what do these words mean? Well, I would describe a pen as a penguin-adjacent creature. The back of the case describes them simply as whimsical creatures, so, take that as you will. Now, a TriIcelon is an ice-themed triathlon with swimming, belly surfing, and ice waddling. It's definitely a unique game, and one that can only be played on the Sega Dreamcast. Now, looking over at the physical game itself, it's pretty boring on the front. It sort of shows what graphics you're going to get, though, when you play the game. It just shows the logo and some of the characters, so not much to it there, but you do know what you're getting. On the inside, it's a very blue aesthetic, but I would say it looks really good. I do like the way the inside looks. There's nothing too interesting on the back. It sort of just describes what you're going to be getting when you play it, but it does say that it's for kids and adults of all ages, so therefore I'm fully within my rights to play this game. The manual on the inside does a good job of describing everything inside the game, but it does get some things wrong. It calls Sneak a female, but then also refers to it as a he. I think Sneak is a he, but this manual did confuse me a little bit. It also describes Back as a pan seal, but you can clearly see that Back is a pen walrus, if you will. Now, going back to the gameplay, it's basically an arcade racing game. I would describe it as if a Japanese game show was a video game. There are 8 playable characters. They're called pens. Obviously, there's Tina, Mr. Bo, Back, Sneak, Jaw, Ballery, Sparky, and then the unlockable character, Hanny Mizzou. My favorite out of these is Jaw, because he's just an angry-looking little critter. There's also a bunch of unlockable items that you can equip onto your character. They're just all fully aesthetic, but they are cool. There's something to work towards that you unlock as you play the races. Speaking of the races, there are 4 different courses. There's Sweets, Jungle, Toys, and Horror. Each course has its own little weird mascot thing. My favorite is the one for the toys, just because each course is made up of different sections of each racing type. So as you play through the course, you will be doing the swimming, belly surfing, and ice waddling. Each section has a different one. And then for game modes, there is single player, split screen multiplayer, and time trial. These are all pretty self-explanatory. The one thing I do want to mention, though, is that the multiplayer doesn't have any AI, so it does feel a little bit empty when you're playing against just one other friend. When you do run into other players in AI, it causes your character to spin out. There are actually some parts that are really difficult to get through, and it causes all of the players or AI to clog up in one spot. So when everybody's clogged up in one spot and they're all bouncing off each other, it creates total chaos. And then when you're done racing for the day, you can click on this little good night menu, and this is what allows you to save your progress for all the things you've unlocked to your VMU. Speaking of the VMUs, after you select a character, your VMU shows a picture of whatever pen you're playing as. This is one of my favorite features of the game, honestly. I didn't know exactly where to put this in the video, but I also want to mention, too, that Jaw and Sneak both have unique swimming animations. I'll show it on the screen here, but no other character has any unique animations besides these two, and it's just for swimming, so that's a little bit weird. Now, looking over at the controls, when you're walking, or ice waddling as I would call it, you use the analog stick to move around and forward, and then you press A to jump whenever there's an obstacle in your way. But when it comes to the swimming and sliding sections, you use the analog stick to move left and right, or up and down when it comes to the swimming sections, and you have to hold A and let go, and you have to time it correctly in order to propel yourself forward. Now, I really like this system. I've seen some people criticize this system and say that it gets a little bit old once you get the timing down, you figured it out. But I would argue that this is a better system than most other arcade racing games, because most other arcade racing games, like Mario Kart or Crash Bandicoot racing games, or Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, you just hold the A button or whatever acceleration button there is, and there's nothing else to it. So I'm not really sure why that's a criticism. I've heard it a few times, but it's still an improvement having that type of propulsion system over just holding one button. I think that this game overall has really fun gameplay, despite sort of the weird, wacky randomness and meminess to it. I genuinely do think that this is a really fun game. Now, looking over at the graphics and sound, this game has a fantastic soundtrack. Just the title screen alone, that song, is fantastic. I love all the music in this game. It's all really upbeat, really fun, and really catchy. All songs that I would love to play at my wedding. Now for the graphics, it has really cartoony graphics, and just like any sort of cartoony-ish game, it's aged like a fine wine. It still looks fantastic today. I think this game looks really, really good. I mean, that's the case when any game has cartoony graphics. It tends to age better than when they try to go realistic with it, because then the second, the next gen comes out that looks way more realistic, it just looks bad in comparison. But because of the cartoony graphics, it still looks good today, and it has a fantastic sound design overall. Despite the weirdness of this game, it is genuinely a fun arcade racing game. In fact, I would say it's one of my favorites. The Dreamcast is full of weird games, and this fits right in with all the rest of them. If you have a Dreamcast or a Dreamcast emulator, I think you should definitely give this game a try. It's really fun. It's fun to play with friends. It's fun to play single player. The collectibles are great. I love the music. It's simply a solid game. I bought it because it looked funny, but under that funny looking exterior, there was a genuinely good game on the inside.